and we are on YouTube now, and we should be live. So if you don't mind, comment, hit the like button as you come in. Welcome to this evening's Midweek Connection. And again, if you hit that like button or the love button, it'll help me to know that you are present and that we are for sure live. I think it's telling me we're live, so that's the good news. And I hope all of you are well. I'm going to just check here and see. Hey, now. Let's see. Are we live? Yeah, I believe so. Checking. Yes, we are. Hi. So as you come in, please, if you don't mind, like and share. Hit that share button. If you're watching by way of YouTube and you have not already subscribed, please consider subscribing. And let's enjoy these midweek connections together. If you are on Facebook and don't mind sharing this to your page, that would be great. Make sure to say hello to me. It's always good to have the interactions in the evenings. Just want to welcome you into this space this evening. I've been doing Midweek Connection now for a few years, actually, and the only change has really been that we've moved Midweek Connection from Wednesday evenings to Thursday evenings, and that's really because we have a board meeting once a month for First Unity, and it was just easier on them for me to move it to another night. So that's one of the reasons we moved it to Thursday. And then on Wednesday evenings, of course, we have our meditation. But the meditation takes place at 6 p.m. And then we used to just jump right into this at 7 p.m. But I want to welcome you this evening. Thank you for being here. There's a whole lot going on in our world right now, as you all well know. And I don't want to speak to any of those current events. I don't want to make any reference to those this evening. I want to talk about something that is actually more meaningful to me, and one of the ways that I am navigating this particular part of my journey with what's occurring in the world. And I was going to go a different route this evening, but I think I've decided instead to go a whole different route than what I had anticipated to begin with. Because the truth is that most of us walk around every day with some kind of a low grade fever of anxiety. And it's not the kind that puts you in bed or that you have to have chicken soup. But it's the kind of anxiety, the kind of fever, the kind of sickness that whispers in your ear, you're not enough. You're not there yet. It says to you that you should be doing more, that you should be succeeding and producing. It's this age-old belief that we've been indoctrinated with. We treat life, honestly, like a long-distance race. We treat it like a long-distance race where the prize waits for you at the finish line. So when you die and go to heaven, then you'll get the prize. There's going to be some kind of a degree. There needs to be some kind of a job. You need to have a family. You need to leave a legacy. And in the meantime, we essentially skim over the pages of the novel of our life that's being written. We're racing toward the end. And we're racing toward that end so much that we're missing the beautiful poetry, the beautiful song, the beautiful play of what's happening along the way. We're so much looking for an end result and producing something and making sure that we were productive citizens, that we wear ourselves out with this idea that we have to become somebody. One of the most beautiful things that Ram Dass really ever taught us was the art of becoming nobody, of recognizing that all of it is a construct, that everything I believe about how I'm supposed to show up and show out is essentially a concept that was built by a society that has run us to death. But life is not a courtroom where you're trying to prove your worth by what you do. I want us to consider, at least this evening, looking at life as more like a concert, more like a dance floor, more like a playground. And somehow in our seriousness, we've forgotten that the music is playing. And this is what I would call the burden of seriousness. We look at life as if it's a performance. Every day we dress ourselves in the roles that we play, whether you are playing the role as a husband or a wife or a doctor or a trash collector or a mother or a father or a student, success, failure. And we're inundated, everything in the media, just about everything we see in religion is all leading us toward the same end. And that is that it's supposed to end. And at the end, you're supposed to be able to say, look how great I was. As if you need a standing ovation for just existing. And the whole time we're headed toward an ending instead of enjoying our life. Even Yeshua ben Joseph, Jesus Christ, said, I come that you might have life and have it abundantly, so that you can start living in the awareness of what it is to simply be alive. Somewhere along the way, we forget that all of those things I just mentioned are acts. They're all costumes. It's a costume that becomes skin, and the role becomes our identity. And Carl Jung once said, the greatest burden a child must bear is the unlived life of the parents. See, many of us have also felt the pressure of what our parents were either unable to do financially, or they were unable to do because of a lack of bravery. And so they put their vision and their purpose into us. They installed their beliefs into our memory banks. And then there's this expectation we're supposed to follow through on something they weren't willing to follow through on. So the greatest burden that a child must bear is the unlived life of their parents. And somebody might say, why? Well, because even our masks get passed down as truth. Even the roles get passed down as some kind of truth. The religious beliefs passed down as truth. But when the mask becomes me, the play feels like prison. And the prison has only one law. And that law is to defend my role at all cost. I think this would solve a lot of our issues in our world currently, because we're so interested in trying to control who other people are, because we believe that we actually know what role they're supposed to be playing. And the truth is that the role is the play, and it's not real. Now, here's the secret to me that I think nobody admits. I have not been able to admit it, and I'm working on doing that. The cosmic secret whispers in the hallways of mystics that nobody knows what's going on. Nobody knows what's going on. It's the uncertainty where potential lies, because none of us know really what's happening. Let's just tell the truth about it. The president doesn't know, your priest doesn't know, the professor doesn't know, your preacher doesn't know. Nobody really knows what's going on. We're all here improvising. Every one of us. The universe didn't hand out a script, just a stage and some props, and said, now go for it. And the moment that we realize this, there's a lightness that returns. We start to move out of the seriousness that we've created. And you realize that it's not too late, that you're not behind, that you're not a failure, that you're dancing. You're not trying to do anything. It's a dance. See, we're even saying this makes the brain go, what? Because it's identifying with all of these things. This is one of the reasons that Buddhist monks in some parts of the world go and meditate in mortuaries, so that they can remind themselves of what is impermanent. And the impermanence is all the roles and all of the stuff that we take so seriously. Alan Watts said it probably as good as anyone I've ever heard when he said, The major issue, and I'm paraphrasing, the major issue with us is that we take serious what God intended to be funny. And I know that there's somebody right now going, well, it's pretty serious, the violence, and it's pretty serious, all the pain that's happening. And boy, that pain that I experienced was pretty serious. I'm not saying that we don't experience some pain, but I'm trying to really rattle us a little bit to realize that we have fallen asleep to the truth of what life really is. And in the moment that we realize this is all a play, that this is a big game, there's a lightness that can return. You can start to get a skip in your step. You're not too late. You're not failing. You're just dancing. Neuroscience even confirms and affirms this. Neuroscience says the brain is a prediction machine, guessing its way forward based on past data. This is one of the reasons that living in the now is so important, because your brain, it does not have the ability to live in the present moment. It is predicting and it's guessing based on past data. And that means that even your most serious self is really improvisation. I want to mess with us a little bit this evening. This is why even the scripture says now faith is the substance. There is no substance in yesterday. There's no substance or such thing as tomorrow. There's only this present moment. And we're taking it so damn serious that we're crimping the hose of what it is to live, to truly live. So if the brain is predicting based on the past, then that means we're all improving. Why not enjoy it? Why not have a good time? Why not start funding your fun? See, even nature reminds us, nature is not serious. Watch a cat. Watch a cat chase its own tail. And why is it chasing its own tail? Because it's a freaking cat. Nature's not serious. Watch the waves that as they crash into the shore, they're just crashing about and then they retreat back into the ocean. Watch a flock of birds moving like a single, they're moving in single scale together across the sky. Just watch how not serious they're all at play. None of them are grimly serious about survival. And Jesus said to consider the birds. Siddhartha Gautama, called the first Buddha, I don't believe there is a first because Buddha just means one who's enlightened, said to watch nature. Look how not serious it's taken itself. So if nature is not grimly serious about survival, then why are we? It's not serious, it's simply expressing. It's not trying, let me say it this way. This is the way it comes to me at the moment. The moment that we stop trying to impress and we just decide to express who we are is the moment we give ourselves freedom to remember that this is all a stage show. And I am not the character that somebody else thinks I am. Whatever their perception of me is entirely up to them. What do I think about me? And what do I think about the part that I'm playing? None of us should be so grimly serious. The Tao Te Ching says this: the Tao never strives, yet nothing is left undone. That's the way of nature. Doing less, getting more done, instead of taking ourselves so seriously. That's why I wanted to title this evening, Purposeless on Purpose. Purposeless on purpose. The tree doesn't apply for a growth permit. It doesn't check with the city or the county about its permit. It just grows. The rose doesn't justify blooming, and it doesn't ask if it's okay to be fragrant now. They express what they are because that's what they are. Now, we've come up with all kinds of rules and regulations. We're all going around here regulating each other. And now we're wanting to fight over and kill over the way we think it should be regulated. The cost of seriousness is very high. So I don't want to hold you too long this evening, but I want to point out some things that I think are vitally important. At least they are to me, as I'm seeing all of the seriousness of what's occurring in the world. And I'm like, Oh my God, how do we get out of this? The way I believe we break free from this is to stop believing that it's actually real. It is an illusion, it's a projection. What is happening in the world is a projection of what's happening on the internal side of humanity, on the soul of humanity. And some of us need to break free from it and consider the cost of seriousness. I wrote it down this way. When life becomes serious, joy gets postponed. Play starts to become suspicious. Does that sound familiar? How many of you were raised most of your life to grow up, be somebody? In fact, you heard people say over and over again, you need to grow up. Be somebody, be productive, get a degree. They want you to have as many degrees as a thermometer. Why? So that you can test the climate. That means the climate is always going to be determining your temperature. You need to realize you're not the thermometer, you're not the thermostat, because both of those are dependent on a cue from the climate. You are the climate itself. You are the environment itself. But when life becomes serious, we postpone our joy. And then all of our play and all of our fun becomes suspicious. How many of you have ever been so happy before you've had people wonder, why are you so happy? What's wrong with you? Isn't that amazing? People think that dis-ease is more normal rather than happiness. Spontaneity starts to feel irresponsible. And you'll have people say, well, you're being irresponsible. Let them say whatever they want to say. I'm saying that to me, a truly spiritual journey is going to be one that's filled with joy. Now, what happens when seriousness happens is the cost is that anxiety rises because you're defending a fragile identity that's not real. Depression grows because the finish line keeps moving. The goalpost keeps moving. Am I talking to somebody this evening who've decided that you're going to get out of the rat race? You're going to step off of the wheel. You're going to stop grinding someone else's corn. You're going to stop living somebody else's idea of what your life should be. I mean, God bless our parents, but they don't know how you're supposed to live your life. They were all doing improv too, and most of them didn't even realize they were wearing the mask. But when anxiety rises, depression starts to rise because you're defending a fragile identity that's not real. There's more depression medication prescribed every day in the United States of America than ever before in the history of the world. We're medicating because we're not meditating, and meditation is not just sitting around humming and thinking peace, love, and recycle. Meditating is also going to the beach and putting your feet in the sand and just playing. Meditation is play, getting into the dance for the purpose of the dance. See, when I'm talking about seriousness, I'm talking about people who essentially, and this is what I mean by seriousness, who essentially will go to a wonderful orchestra event. They'll go and listen to a beautiful piece. And instead of listening to the music, they're running through the pamphlet that they hand out, trying to look for spelling errors. Instead of enjoying the music. Instead of enjoying the movie, they're picking apart, well, if they'd have done this or done that. Instead of enjoying the experience, we're too busy criticizing what we think is real. And so it's no wonder that our culture is exhausted. It's no wonder that we're depressed and we're constantly trying to find ways to just check out of life. Because we've mistaken life for a resume rather than a rhythm. It's a resume for what? What is it that you're trying to, what kind of job on the other side are you trying to get that makes you drive so hard to be serious in this life? So what if you get to the end of your life and people stand over your coffin and say, what a wonderful person that was, but you didn't live your life? Why are we worried about legacy instead of being concerned about living? There's two L words. You can go after legacy or you can start to live. And I'm not saying that I'm not talking about, going and being ridiculous in terms of harming other people. That's not what I mean. That's not what I'm saying. But it does not harm anyone else for you to enjoy your life so much that you laugh on a regular basis and that you have fun. That does not harm anybody else. The reason we're exhausted and diseased is because we've mistaken life as a resume rather than a rhythm. And I'm encouraging us to break free from it. So here's a little something I'll share with you before we go. It's a little bit of it's a practice. It's a way to embody what we're talking about this evening. I'm going to ask you to consider at some point, today, tomorrow, this evening, hold a small pebble or a stone in your hand. Don't make it a metaphor. Don't turn it into a sermon. Don't try to find something deep and spiritual in it. Just hold it. Just notice it, the texture, the color, the weight, how it feels in your hand. Enjoy it for its own sake. Don't judge it. Don't even try to describe it. Just experience it. That's simple. This is why Siddhartha Gautama, quite possibly his most popular sermon, was when he walked out, and I don't have a flower to grab, so I'll just grab my cup. He walked out in front of all of his adherents, and he just grabbed a flower and held it up and didn't say a word. He said nothing. And he stood there for 45 minutes or an hour just holding the flower in his hand. And it became known as his most profound sermon because it was not about words. It was about being in that moment with life and with beauty and not needing to make a judgment. So I'm asking you to consider grabbing a stone or a rock and just notice it. And when the mind starts to try to make a metaphor, it does that for me. Look, everything's a metaphor and a sermon for me. So I'm telling you, this is work for me. Sometimes it's work for me to have fun because I was raised in such dank density of religion and driven so hard to be somebody and to make sure ultimately that I could get to heaven. This is really one of the biggest deceptions I think that we've ever been given in our world and in our society is that there's somewhere else to go that's better than the present moment. Now faith is. The presence of life is only in this present moment. So here's a few questions to ask yourself. Where am I performing right now? I'm asking myself. I'm asking you to consider asking yourself. And what would happen if, for just one breath, I took the mask off and I set it down? Now, the mind jumps in and says, oh man, if people knew the real you. See, Carl Jung said that one of the most glorious things a human being can ever do is to become fully themselves. And I would say to you, the most holy thing that you could ever do is to fully become yourself. So what would happen if just for one breath, I set the mask down? And then the last question to play with, what does my body feel like when I stop proving and I start playing? Can you feel that? What does it feel like in my body when I stop proving and I start playing? This is one of the reasons, friends, that making love from a physical standpoint and a psychological standpoint is one of the most powerful things that occurs. Because most of the time when that's happening, it is the only thing that the focus is on, is being in that moment. Now, we all know you use the term making love. You're not making love, but you understand what I mean. That intimate interaction and connection, it's almost as if you check out of everything else and there you are. What if we were that intimately engrossed in just living life, not to and excuse me, I mean, I'll be, maybe it's a little crass here, but not for the purpose of orgasm or for climax, but for living absolutely engrossed and embraced in the moment. So much that we're just living life. So, what does it feel like when I stop proving and I start playing? Friends, the burden of seriousness, in my opinion, is heavy. But it's not who you are. You're not a resume. You're not a role. You're not the mask. You are the one who sees. You're the one who dances. You are the one who sings. And not for the purpose or for any purpose at all. Let me say it that way. Not for any purpose at all, but for joy. Can you think about it? I'm not singing for any purpose at all. I'm being purposefully purposeless. I mean, I know it hits our ears and there's parts of our head that go, duh, because we've been so trained. But you're the one who sees, you're the one who dances, you're the one who sings, not for any particular purpose, but for the joy of it. So the call tonight is simple. In closing, lay the weight down. Notice the music that's already playing. Step into the dance, not to get to the other side of the dance floor, but to twist and to turn and to sway and to be in the moment. And remember, the opposite of seriousness is not being frivolous. Whew, man, can you hear that? Why are you being so frivolous? The opposite of seriousness is not being frivolous. It's play. And ultimately, it's trust, because it's the courage to laugh at the cosmic joke and realize that you are not a character who's lost in the script. You are the play itself, and you're giving the play the characters. So I'm just inviting us to consider living life a little less purposeful. Just saying it, I'm telling you, my head goes, you can't do that. We have books out there that are bestsellers called The Purpose-Driven Life. John, if you don't have a purpose in life, I know, because I hear people say, I've lost my purpose, and so therefore, I'm depressed or I feel like dying. Well, I think that's a problem. I think it's a problem, because life is not meant to have a purpose. I don't know that I'm supposed to have a purposeful life. I think I'm supposed to have a purposeless life and simply enjoy it like a cat chasing its tail, like a dog chasing its tail. Like the squirrels just chasing each other through the trees. So let go of that low-grade fever of anxiety. Choose to be healed from it. And maybe start looking at life not as a resume, but as play. Not as something to be survived, but something to be lived. All right, friends, thank you for joining me this evening. It's some high theology, isn't it? For this purposeless get-together. Thank you for choosing to have more fun. I mean, God, in the world we're living in, let's stop taking ourselves so seriously. I know, saying it, it's just like, I know. But this is a practice that I know Spirit is inviting me into, and maybe you do as well. All right, I'm going to get off of here now. We have our meditations. They're archived. They're every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday in the mornings at 6:30 a.m., but they are archived. So they're right here on the channel, wherever you watch them, whether it's YouTube or Facebook, and I have both. I have my cameras stacked tonight. So we're live to YouTube and live to Facebook. And we're practicing love, joy, and peace with an emphasis tonight, I guess, on joy. So consider entering that practice. Consider making a financial donation to First Unity Spiritual Campus and continue to support because I don't know, because we're purposeless. We're just enjoying life. All right, guys, I got to roll on that one. Hey, we'll see you on Sunday, right? Either virtually or in person. If you can be in the room in person on Sunday, I really feel like this is, and I know I say this every week, but there's an energetic thing that's occurring that's just really, really, really cool. And I'm asking you to consider being in the space. We're going to do something a little different. The plan was to do a chakra every week as we go through this book study, but I felt drawn to do solar plexus and heart at the same time. So we're going to be in the middle, in the core of our being on Sunday. And it's fire. It's when the fire of the willpower meets the love power. Woo! That's gonna get fun. All right. I'm gonna get up out of here now. Go and make it a great evening just because you can. I love you, friends. Peace.